Enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.
3, 2, 1, 0.
Sorry about that, gang. Here I am. No need to fear. I am here. Welcome to the new Recliner Sports Studios. This is Devin. My name is Devin. This is a special edition of Habs After Dark. We are doing World Juniors After Dark. We just finished watching the Team Canada versus Team Finland. Canada-Finland. Canada wins 4-0. We have Real Deal Prime is in the house. Entertap is in the house. Thank you, Real Deal Prime. Welcome and thank you for being here. Sounds like the intro is on a 5-second loop. Yes, that's not an intro. That is our wait time or our wait video. Sometimes we are not able to get on the air immediately after the game. It takes some time to get things together. Yeah. There we go. Canada, red, Canada. Who is the winner? Canada won, Frank. Frank Yorka. Canada played Finland. Need I say more? Ryan Bowling Fan Hogan. Thank you, Carter George. Yes, Carter George kind of saved the bacon a little bit there in the third period. Didn't he? Yeah. The A team must be giving me fits. We'll see, won't we, Entertap? We'll get there soon. We'll get to the Entertap here in a second. Thank you, Day. We got a new setup. I got to do a little bit more work on the background here behind me. I got to put up a few more things, but I built the new desk today. We have our new computer, which is our camera as well. We got the TV. Well, I guess, yeah, the TV is right there. All that good stuff. Aiden says, not a bad game. Third period wasn't great, but still a well-deserved win. I agree. I agree with all of that. I think that Canada played well. I found it was a very typical Canada World Juniors game where you see a lot of sort of individual skill and talent, but it sometimes takes a few games for them to get into the grand scheme of things and before they start to get where they build a little bit of chemistry and so on and so forth. Hey, Larry, what's going on? Welcome to Recliner Sports. Welcome to Habs After Dark / World Juniors After Dark. Thank you for coming. It was great to meet you live on Coach's show the other day. It was really nice to meet you. I need an eggplant. Okay, I don't know exactly what that means, Real Deal Prime, but yeah, maybe you can keep that kind of stuff to yourself. Anyways, guys, what do we think of the game? Canadians defeat the Finns 4-0, first game of the World Juniors. Sometimes we see that the Canadians kind of come out of the gate a little bit slow. I thought they played a pretty decent game tonight. I don't know that it was their best effort. I think they probably still have a little bit more in the tank to give. But no, I thought it was a decent effort. And again, I think it was typical of what we often see from the World Juniors, where there's a fair amount of individual talent out there, but some of the team play doesn't really reveal itself until later on in the tournament. Solid defenders by Canada, but the obscure one might be Price, Entertap. I thought Price had a fantastic game tonight. In fact, after we were talking briefly about it over on Coach's comment section, I kind of made a bit of a change to my A team, so we'll get to that in a minute. So, do you want to go through the game here? Let's go through the game real quickly, guys. Canada got out to a decent start. They were dominating the Finns in the first period. However, they weren't able to score any goals. They were leading in the shots right off the top. They were, sort of dominating the shots early in the game, but they weren't able to score a goal Unfortunately, until about 19 minutes into the first period, at the 19:08 mark, we had a goal from Gavin McKenna. Gavin McKenna scores from Matthew Schaefer and Oliver Bonk. Richie has the puck sort of at the side of the net. He holds onto the puck, finally shoots. The save is made by the Finnish goalie. The rebound ends up at the blue line with Oliver Bonk. Bonk makes a partner pass over to Schaefer, and Schaefer makes a really nice cross-ice seam pass on the tape of Gavin McKenna. Gavin McKenna shoots once off the pads of the Finnish goalie, and then collects his own rebound and then puts it up high. Question for you guys. I had a feeling that Gavin McKenna might have shot that first shot into the goalie's pads on purpose. Any thoughts on that? If it was, that's a spectacular play. I felt like he almost, he kind of put the first shot into the goalie's pads, knowing that he would have no choice but to give up a rebound, and then, buried it up high. Not sure if maybe I'm reaching a little bit there, but interested to know what you thought about that. Second period, Easton Cowan, Toronto Maple Leafs prospect, scores an unassisted goal. He gets the puck. He's going on a bit of a skate in the Finnish zone. He's kind of, carrying, doing one of those full loops of the offensive zone. He takes what I initially thought was a bit of a harmless, ill-advised shot on the Finnish goal. I kind of thought it was a bad play for a second. He's kind of out at the blue line. And he sort of fires a off-balance wrist shot against his own body. At the goal. Not much danger in the shot. However, he gets lucky. The Finns recover the puck, but they're not able to clear it. Easton Cowan intercepts a clearing attempt by the Finnish team. Then he walks in on the goalie and shoots from the left circle, and he beats the Finnish goalie short side. 2-0 for Canada. That's the score at the end of the second period. And then we go into the third period. Again, Canada's kind of struggling a little bit in the third period. The Finns are kind of getting back in the game. Carter George is playing quite well, keeping them in it. He's making the saves when they count. Even though he, didn't really have a lot of work in the first two periods, he did in the third. Luca Pinelli scores his first of the tournament at 15-14. The Ottawa 67's captain in his, not his hometown, but I guess the town in which he plays his junior hockey. Assisted by Caden Price and Mathieu Ketafal, former Halifax Moosehead. The score is 3-0. A really nice play by Caden Price at the blue line. Shades of Lane Hudson a little bit. He dekes out his defender at the blue line, leaves the defender behind him. He has an open lane kind of towards the goal, and as he's skating towards the goal, he feeds a really nice pass to Pinelli, who's in the high slot. And Pinelli beats the Finnish goalie up high, 3-0 for the Canadiens. Shortly after that, the Canadiens take a penalty. I believe it is it's Porter Martone. Porter Martone takes a penalty, and the Finns pull their goalie. It's a 6-on-4. The Canadiens have to sort of battle their way through the end of the game. Carter George is incredible. He plays really, really well, stands on his head to keep the Canadiens in the game, to maintain his shutout. But also a really nice performance by the Canadian penalty killers, in particular Tanner Molendyk and Caden Price. I thought they both looked really good. The Canadiens are able to kill that 6-on-4, and eventually, very late in the game, they score an empty net. Matthew Schaefer shoots the puck the length of the net, goes into the empty net at 19:41, and that's your final 4-0 in favor of Team Canada. So that's game one of the tournament under their belts. The Canadiens bring home the first win. Sometimes in this tournament they'll get a little bit of a softer opponent in the first game of the tournament. The Finns are not a weak sister by any means. I don't know that we would call them a medal contender, but they're certainly not a weak sister. So decent performance by the Canadiens. Again, I think they need to work on a little bit of their team stuff. I think they need to build a little bit more chemistry, but it was a good start for Canada. So let's get into the questions. Third period was scary. Ryan, bowling fan. Hogan says, Zachary asks, how was my Christmas? My Christmas was great. Thank you very much for asking. Mr. McPhilly says, good evening and Merry Christmas to all. Thank you very much, Craig. Finland plays a good mix of defense. Finland always plays well internationally. They always take a lot of pride in their national teams. You'll see a lot of guys who will perform at a much higher level, even on their national team, than they do, when they play at the NHL level or otherwise. And the Finns are always a pretty proud bunch, and they always manage to give Canada a good game. It was nice to see Catafal get more ice time as the game went on, considering it was the 13th forward. Yeah. And that'll happen. And oftentimes we'll see in a tournament like the World Juniors where the guy who starts out as the 13th forward ends up moving up the lineup, whether it's because of an injury or because of a blowout game. They get a little bit of extra ice time and they kind of prove that they're capable, and they do a little bit to move themselves up the lineup a little bit. Real Deal Prime says McKenna. Yes, he looked really good. Line 2 was expecting line 4. Okay. That crossed my mind too. Are you talking about, you're talking about McKenna's shooting the puck intentionally into the goalie's pads, perhaps. Yeah, it just occurred to me as I saw it, because he didn't really make a strong effort to try and score on that shot, and it was almost like he was, playing kind of like, you can sometimes play a bank shot off the back of the net and then sort of beat your opponent off that. It just kind of looked that way to me. And I mean, maybe it's crazy to think that. If that's what he did, then I think it was a highly skilled play. And hopefully one of the reporters at the game picked up on it and will ask him about it. So if you're over there watching on TikTok, guys, come on over here. Join our YouTube channel. Recliner Sports 4 is the channel. Open up your YouTube app. Come on over to Recliner Sports 4 and join the show. We're talking World Juniors, just like the good old days on TikTok when we used to do our TikTok lives a year ago. It's kind of what got me started doing this. And if you're over there on TikTok, guys, unfortunately, I'm not doing TikTok lives anymore, but I have opened up the TikTok live just to let you know that we're doing a show and to invite you to come on over and join us over here on YouTube. Real Deal Prime, catch the goalie moving. If it doesn't slide under, make sure the rebound will give you that second opportunity while the goalie was sliding and looked behind, only to see the D-man almost make the glove. Okay, I'm not 100% sure I understand all of that, Real Deal Prime, but I do take your point about, creating a rebound. But again, a very skilled play if that is, in fact, what Gavin McKenna was trying to do on that play. Listen, guys, if you're here on the live, please, if you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel. The button is just below my screen here, I believe. Just hit that button and subscribe. YouTube tells me that only about 35% of the people who view our shows are actually subscribed. If you are inclined, enjoy the content, please do so. Hit the thumbs up button. We've got 4 thumbs up so far. You can also hit the notification bell. That will also provide you with a notification. You'll get notified when the sorry, I didn't meant to change the channel over to this. You will get notified when we're live. When the show goes live, you'll get a notification, whether it's on your phone, your computer, your iPad, wherever you watch your YouTube. You'll get a notification indicating that we are live, and it will give you the opportunity to join up and come on in and join the show, because we love to have you here, and the more the merrier. So like I said, subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. It really, really does help. If you're over there on TikTok, guys, come on over here, join, subscribe, get in the comments, and you can ask some questions and join the conversation. So one of the traditions, or one of the things that we do on the Habs After Dark show is our A-Team. The A-Team is our version of the stars of the game. In this particular case, we do 4 stars instead of 3. And the A-Team, of course, named after the great 1980s television show that old people like me will remember. Some of the younger people here won't. But again, we will we do that all the time on Habs After Dark, and I figured I would carry it over here. So there you have it, guys. There's our A-Team for tonight. We have Easton Cowan, Caden Price, Tanner Molendyke, and Carter George. I won't say it was a struggle to pick tonight's A-Team, guys, but it certainly wasn't easy. There were a lot of guys who warranted consideration and warranted a spot on tonight's A-team. First up was Easton Cowan. I gave it to Easton Cowan tonight. I felt like he was dangerous all night on the ice, skating well. He's got that shot. He obviously spent some time with Austin Matthews. You can see that I'm not going to say that his shot is at the same level as Austin Matthews right now, but certainly his techniques are there. The toe drag release, if we're calling it that, he's got a really nice shot. He's a really good hockey player. He's a good skater, and he looked really, really good. For me, Caden Price and Tanner Molendyk were standouts. I originally did not have Caden Price in my A team. Pardon me. I had Molendyk from. I think Molendyk was in my mind pretty early on as far as being a part of the A team. I actually had Berkeley Catton in the place where I now have Caden Price. I think Berkeley Catton had a great game tonight. I think he ended with 7 shots on goal for the game. He had a really strong game and was dangerous from the very beginning until the end. But Caden Price with the setup on the Pinelli the Pinelli goal. As well as his defensive play there in the sort of the last 5 to 10 minutes of the game, blocking shots on that penalty kill. He was spectacular. I thought he looked really, really good, and was one of the best players on the ice from beginning to end defensively, and certainly showed a little bit of offensive flair in the third period as well. And finally, Carter George. I didn't think that the goaltender really was a big factor through the first 2 periods of the game. However, when the Finns woke up a little bit and the Canadiens kind of let the foot off the pedal in the third period, Carter George stood tall. It's a really hard thing to do as a goaltender to sort of be there and not have a lot of action and maybe get a little bit out of the game and then all of a sudden be asked to sort of step up when the other team turns their game around. And it's hard. You've sort of been sitting pretty unoccupied in the first 2 periods. I don't know what the shots were in the first 2 periods. I can tell you in a second if you like. So yeah, he only faced 11 shots in the first 2 periods, and then he faced 20 in the third period. So to go from that sort of relatively laid back first 40 minutes of the game to a pretty busy last 20 minutes of the game with the especially the last 5 or 6 minutes with the power play and the 6-on-4 situation. It was a pretty special performance by Carter George, and I had no choice but to put him on the A team for tonight. So let me know, guys, what do you think of that A team? Are those the guys you would have picked if you were choosing the A team? Are there guys that you thought maybe I didn't pick that should have been on the 4 guys who performed above and beyond tonight? Was there anybody that you thought I missed? Is there anybody you thought I put on there that didn't deserve to be there? Let me know what you think. Jason Teal says Gauthier was really good shorthanded. He was. You're right. The penalty killers on that bottom, that penalty kill in the third period were all pretty good. Sacrificing their bodies. Molendyk blocked a couple shots. Price blocked a shot. Gauthier was out there. It was a great performance by the defensive side of the team. What do they call them? Les employés de soutien. The secondary or the supporting cast certainly did their job tonight, and I thought they played really, really well. And Caden Price out of nowhere, right? Like who's Caden Price? Do we know much about the guy? Like, again, I will defer to a lot of you guys in our conversations here when it comes to the World Juniors. I don't know much about a number of most of these players on this team. I don't know a ton about. I don't follow junior hockey like that anymore. I can probably tell you a little bit about the guys who are from the Q, and certainly Matthew Catafor, as a former Halifax Moosehead, I know a little bit about him. But again, I'll rely on you guys. I assume that some of these guys will be from, where you're from, or they play junior hockey near or where you're from. So if you have any, feedback or anything to talk about that you want to, share about these guys, then I'm really happy to get your feedback. Schaefer was pretty good. I agree. He's a very talented guy. I found Schaefer's discipline kind of lacking a little bit tonight. Obviously he's got a ton of talent, and the pass he made on the whose goal was it? Yeah, on the McKenna goal. Yeah, his pass on the McKenna goal was really, showed a great vision, and he looked really, really good. Oh, what's this going on here? The Raptors coach losing his mind at the. Who's that guy? I don't know who that guy is, but some guy on the Raptors is losing his mind at the referee. Probably because the Raptors gave up 155 points tonight. 155 to 126 they lost. Anyways, I just saw that on the screen over there. Schaefer looked good, but again, I thought that the team overall showed a lack of discipline tonight. They took some bad penalties. Especially the younger guys. Martone took a bad penalty. Schaefer took a bad penalty, and I don't know what the penalty was at the end of the game that Tanner Howe took for unsportsmanlike conduct. I'd like to know a little bit. Did anybody see what he did to catch that? I didn't catch it. I was taking notes, and I didn't catch what it was that he did. So again, the Canadiens took Luchenko 2 minutes for boarding, Tanner Howe 2 minutes for tripping, Tanner Molendyk 2 minutes for holding, Gibson 2 minutes for roughing, and Porter Martone 2 minutes for high sticking, and Tanner Howe 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike conduct. And so the reason I bring Schaefer up is that he was sort of going at it. He probably deserved a penalty at the beginning of the game for, I don't know if you guys remember, about 2 or 3 minutes into the game, he was involved in a bit of a shoving match after the whistle. Probably deserved a penalty after that. And he was involved also, I think, in the little skirmish that took place by the Canadian bench about midway through the first period. I just found him a little bit indisciplined tonight, even though I guess he did manage to escape without any penalties. So, Connor George's mother is a former high-level curler. He credits his poise under pressure to his mother. Yes, very nice. Yes, very nice. I have an ex-girlfriend who was a high-level curler who also went to the Scotties. So I think she was there around the same time. And anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's athletes in the family. It's a genetic thing sometimes. Junior hockey back in Newfoundland. Yes, the former Bathurst Titan will be in Newfoundland. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. I was kind of surprised to see that news, quite honestly, because I understood the big issue with previous teams in Newfoundland, especially the junior team, the St. John Fog Devils that were there a number of years ago. The big issue for them was travel, not just their travel, but the travel of the other teams trying to get to Newfoundland to play road games over there. There's not a lot of money in junior hockey, and it's hard for junior teams to have to, that's a major road trip for a junior hockey team. And, for a team, teams that are in their conference, that play in the same conference with St. John's, they're going to have to be traveling over to Newfoundland, 2, 3, 4 times a year. So I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know how they're going to do the schedule, whether, a team will play 2 or 3 games against St. John's when they go over there, which isn't ideal either. But I'll be interested to see how it works out. I'll be interested to see how things work out in St. John's, because pro hockey teams have not succeeded to date in Newfoundland. So we'll see how that works out. Anybody have any comments regarding the A team? Anybody that you think deserves to be on there that I haven't included? Is there anybody on there that I've included that you think doesn't deserve to be there? Mr. McPhilly, that's you. I think that's you, Craig, isn't it? I believe that's Craig. I think Howe was chirping at the Finland bench. Okay, so again, if that's the case, that's not, that's not the way Canadians win at the World Juniors. We've seen that over the years from the Russians and from the Americans, but that's not typically the discipline that the Canadians like to show. So I wouldn't be impressed with that. Again, I thought there was a significant lack of discipline by the Canadian team tonight. I think that if the referee had been a little stricter, which we often see from European refs at the World Juniors, the Canadians could have found themselves in some pretty big trouble. So, nice, Zach. Going to Florida. Where are you going? What's the plan for Florida? Entertap says it's going to take a bit of time for the lines to develop chemistry as well as the D pairings, but it was all encouraging for game one. Indiscipline is something they'll have to work on. Yeah, absolutely. Again, I agree with all of that stuff, Entertap. It's not uncommon for Team Canada to struggle to develop their chemistry going into a tournament like this, a short tournament. So again, it takes some time for them to develop that chemistry, and sometimes you watch the entire tournament thinking they're eventually going to get their chemistry back, and they never really do. And other times they get it pretty quickly. So we'll see how that works out. That was one of the things that we kind of saw last year with last year's team, right? We saw the great individual talent that they had on the team, but we were always kind of waiting for them to put it all together, and they just never did. The tournament ended before they put it all together. There were a number of guys on that team who underperformed, and we were all just kind of waiting for them to show up and to do what they were capable of doing, and they never really got there. So hopefully we will see them get there sooner rather than later. Maybe the game against Latvia tomorrow will give them an opportunity to do that. So we shall see. Well, welcome, Craig. It's good to see you, man. Long time no see. I hope everything's good with you. Hope you had a good Christmas. I certainly don't miss TikTok, but I miss some of the people on TikTok. I miss some of the old school crew. I call them the Recliner Sports OGs, the people that were around last year when we first started doing this thing around this time, around the World Juniors, leading up to the World Juniors. You being one of the originals. So thanks for coming by. It's good to see you here. And if you guys are over there on TikTok, if any of the old school guys are over there watching on TikTok, come on over here to YouTube and join us here. Hey, salut, coach. Bonsoir. What's going on? How are you? Zach, you are landing at the Tampa airport. Okay, nice. You can't say that's okay, coach. I know you got stuff to do. It's probably a nice day over there in Thailand. But no, I appreciate you coming by and saying hello. I did catch some of your show during the game. Good job. It was awesome as usual. We'll probably see you on there tomorrow. I'm sure you'll be live for the Latvia game as well. So you're landing at the Tampa Bay airport, Zachary. Maybe, what are you doing? Are you doing you're not doing Disney, I guess. You wouldn't be landing at Tampa if you're doing a Disney thing. Are you just spending time in the Tampa area? Are you going down to Fort Myers? What's the scoop? There was an arena dispute. Reason for the last owner to pull out. The Mary Brown Center holds over 6,200 people. As for travel, teams for stay longer to reduce travel during the season. Well, that's not. I mean, again, I don't. I know there was an arena dispute with the Growlers, and the Growlers of the East Coast League ended up leaving. But again, there are significant issues with travel that are not solvable by simply having teams stay longer and play multiple games. And, playing multiple games against the same team over a short period of time isn't ideal either, right? You don't want to go over and have to play the same team, 3 times in 3 nights. That's not ideal for, the competitive aspect of the league. So, money obviously is the issue. And if the teams had money and, could travel that way, they could probably survive a little bit better. But that's not typically the situation with junior hockey. There's a lot of teams in junior hockey that can't afford that kind of travel. Whether it's the Newfoundland team itself, or if it's the teams that have to travel there. So, spending some time with your mom's friend, nice, Zach. Well, that'll be a good time. I hope you have a really good time, and you enjoy the sun. Yeah, I hope you enjoy the sun and the nice weather down there in Florida. Try and avoid some of the crazy people. Try and stay away from the crazy people. It's an island for sure. It works. Well, it hasn't worked is the point I guess I'm trying to make, Real Deal Prime. Right? There hasn't been a professional team, and I include junior hockey in that. There hasn't been a professional team that's lasted for more than 3 years, I don't think, in St. John's. Again, I wish it would work. I love the idea of having hockey in St. John's. They're great great people, great fans. They enjoy the game. They're knowledgeable of the game. There's great hockey traditions and history in Newfoundland. But again, history tells us that there hasn't really been. It's difficult to succeed as a pro hockey team in Newfoundland. So hopefully, this version of the I don't even know what they're going to be called. I assume they're not going to be called the Fog Devils again. Something probably along those lines, but hopefully this version of Newfoundland or St. John's junior hockey team will do better than the previous one. So, okay, guys, let's. Was it 95? Was it that long ago? I feel like it wasn't quite that long ago, Real Deal Prime. I think that might be... I'm not going to argue with you because I don't know, but I'm going to look it up. St. John's Fog Devils. So they would have... No, see, the St. John's Fog Devils left Newfoundland in 2008. So they would have played between 2005 and 2008. Yeah, it wasn't 1995. Yeah, so it was the Montreal junior hockey team moved from Montreal. They were called the Montreal Juniors, I think. They were called something else before that, and they moved from Montreal to St. John's. Whoa, what am I doing? I don't want to do that. Don't do that. Done do that. Okay, let's have a look at the. I don't know. We haven't really had a chance to talk about the lineup, the Team Canada roster for this tournament. I'd be interested to get your guys' thoughts on all of this. What you think about the roster? Oops, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do that. There we go. So there's basically the lineup that Canada put on the ice for tonight's game. Oh, hey, Hoagie, what's going on, man? I didn't even pick up on that. What should the coaching staff do to prepare for a team like the States on New Year's Eve? Or is that a question to look at after Latvia? Good question. Really good question. I think it is a question that the coaches are probably thinking about right now. They're probably not, dealing with it directly with the players as of yet. The answer to the question is I don't really know. Obviously, I think, a big part of it is going to be building that chemistry and getting, the team rolling in the first couple games. So that when they go into that, game against the U.S. on New Year's Eve, they'll be in a good spot. They'll be playing well. They'll be feeling good about themselves. They'll have some momentum behind them. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. If they're not able to get that chemistry and that momentum behind them, it could be a long night. The Americans are a really strong team, certainly offensively. So, it'll remain to be seen whether the Canadians can compete with them, whether the Canadians can, do better than they did last year. The reality is last year they had a pretty decent team last year. They just never sort of got it all together. Again, we talked last year about the line matchups that Canada had and the fact that the line matchups didn't really have a lot of chemistry and how poorly the Canadian coaching staff did to try and build that chemistry and keeping apart guys who showed some good momentum or some good talent playing together and then not keeping them together. So what are your thoughts on this on the lines tonight? We had Nadeau, Ritchie, and Cowan. McKenna, Catton, and Pinelli, Baudouin, Luchenko, and Gauthier, and then Howe, Yeager, and Martone with Catafor as the seventh forward. The 13th forward. What did we think about those lines? Are we happy with those lines? Do we think that there's better combinations out there? Are there guys that you think should be playing together that aren't currently playing together? Are we like where are we thinking about that? You were born in St. John, New Brunswick. Okay, very nice. Dave Cameron has had success at the juniors. I hope he gets the team going. Yes, he has. Yeah, I mean Dave Cameron's a good hockey coach, right? I don't think any of the coaches that Canada really gets at this level are bad. I think what gets in Canada's way sometimes is that they put certain factors ahead of, I don't know what to say, like they pick players based on things other than merit and skill and talent. I get that they're sometimes they're looking to put together a team and not just an all-star team, and I have no problem with that. In fact, I'm dead I'm fully in favor of them doing that. I think that's ideally the way that you would build a roster, but I do think they often look at things like age and I'm not a big fan of them not taking guys because they feel like they're too young, and I don't feel like they've done that this year, right? They've brought in McKenna, they've brought in Martone, they've brought in a number of guys who are still draft eligible. I think is there 2 draft eligible or 3? Martone's draft eligible. Well, McKenna's draft eligible next year. Ritchie's drafted, Cowan's drafted, McKenna, Catton, Pinelli. I don't know what Pinelli's status is. Baudouin's drafted, Luchenko's drafted, Gautier's drafted, Howe is drafted, I believe. Jaeger's drafted, and Katafor's drafted. Yeah, so I guess, yeah, Ivan Kovic isn't drafted. So they've brought in a couple of draft eligible guys, which is interesting to see. So USA gave up 4 versus Germany. Well, I don't think we're going to hold that against them. That was a pretty dominating victory by the U.S. Real Deal Prime. I don't think I don't think you're finding holes in Team USA because they gave up 4 goals to Germany. I don't think that's going to be something that's going to hold them back when it comes time to play Canada on New Year's. I think they're a pretty strong team. They've got a number of returning guys. They've got a lot of star power, certainly on the forwards for sure. They're going to be tough to beat. Shout out to the Spangler Cup team for winning 6-2 against Davos. Yes, I think they're heading to the final tomorrow. Did I see that? Is that what I saw on SportsCenter? They're going to the final tomorrow against, I can't even remember the name of the team they're going against tomorrow. So, Glace Bay Logan Shaw, yes. Glace Bay's Logan Shaw got on the board. Good friends of friends of mine. I don't know Logan Shaw personally, but I do have some friends who do know him quite well from the Glace Bay and Dominion area. Some of them went to high school with him, so yeah, good to see him doing well. I'm not sure where he's playing hockey this year. I know he was with the Toronto Marlies for a while. Maybe he is still. I don't know. I guess I could look it up, I suppose. Let's see. Logan Shaw. You got to say it like that if you're from Nova Scotia, right? You can't say Logan Shaw. You have to say Logan Shaw, right? That's how we say it in Nova Scotia, and that's certainly how they would say it in Logan's hometown of Glace Bay. Logan Shaw this year is still with the Marlies. Again, there's a guy who's had a pretty impressive minor hockey career, right? He's only got, I guess he's played 232 NHL games, which is more than I thought. He's got a total of 39 points in 232 NHL games. But, I mean, he's got 18 points in 25 games this year, 58 points in 68 games last year, 69 points in 69 games the year before that, so he was a point a game for the Marlies. The year before that, he was with the Belleville Senators. He had 35 points in 53 games. So, yeah, he's, carved out a pretty good American Hockey League career for himself. Hasn't really had a ton of success at the NHL level. He did play briefly for the Canadiens. In 2017-18, he played 30 games for Montreal and registered 6 points. So he's played NHL games with Florida, Anaheim, Montreal, Winnipeg, and Ottawa. So pretty impressive career for a guy who has kind of struggled to make the NHL. He's had an impressive. How old is he now? Logan Shaw is 32 years old. Still with the Marlers, he is the captain. Yeah, he's been the captain of the Marlies for quite some time now. He's been the captain, I think, this would be the third season, I think. So what do we think of this lineup, guys? Nobody has any comments about the lineup? Nobody has any questions about this lineup? We're all happy with the players that Canada chose. We're all happy with the line combinations. We're happy with the defensive pairings. We're happy with all of that. That surprises me. Last year, there were a lot of commentary, lots of comments about, who we liked and who we didn't like. Are we surprised that, who are we surprised? I mean, Beckett Seneca, I think a lot of people would have thought he would have made the team for sure. There's a bunch of guys. Canada's goaltending is always the question. Yeah, again, I don't know that it's a question at this level. I think, Carter George and Jack Ivankovic, and who's the third goalie? The third goalie's name is escaping me right now. I think they're very capable goalies. I mean, Trey Augustine, obviously, for the Americans, has some profile. I want to see this. Sorry, they're showing the McKenna goal again, and I still think he did that on purpose. I think he put it off the goalie's pads on purpose. I really do. Yeah, Yakimchuk was a surprise not to make it, especially with the tournament being held in Ottawa. Again, I don't know that should be a factor in choosing him, but all indications were that he was capable of making that team. I don't know enough to comment about the other guys who were taken over him. I don't follow junior hockey closely enough to comment intelligently about that, so I won't. But certainly Yakimchuk, high draft pick to the Ottawa Senators, looked very impressive in the preseason. I can't recall did he play a couple games before being sent down or not. I mean, he definitely looked really good, and there was definitely a lot of chatter about the fact that he might stick with the Ottawa Senators. They, ultimately did send him down to the minors, but he certainly. I remember watching him play a couple times against the Canadiens in the preseason. He looked, he looked like he belonged for sure. Yeah, I mean, again, he should have made the Ottawa. Jason Teal says he should have made the Ottawa Senators based on preseason. Well. Yes and no. I mean, there are other factors to consider other than just how well you played in preseason, right? It's, hey, Hunter, what's going on? He didn't play a game okay in the preseason. He did look very good in the preseason. I agree. He definitely showed enough to warrant making the team in the preseason. But, there's other factors that play with young hockey players, right? There's contract things that you take into consideration. There's maturity things that you take into consideration. There's, where is your team in its developmental phase to take into consideration? Are you going to bring a young player into a situation where the team, might not be succeeding? Do you feel like the kid has the maturity to survive in the NHL, whether it's on the ice or off the ice? There's all kinds of other factors to come into play other than just, were you one of the, 6 best defensemen on the team in training camp? So lots of questions with the roster this year. They thought Misa and TJ Ginla were going to make. Well, TJ Ginla got hurt. I know that they announced the roster before TJ Ginla's injury got hurt, but my sense is they probably knew already that he wasn't going to be available, so they didn't invite him to camp. As far as Misa goes, I'm not sure what the rationale behind that is. I mean, all indications are that he's having a spectacular season in the OHL. Again, I don't follow and watch the games on a daily basis, but as far as numbers are concerned, they are very impressive. So I don't know exactly what the situation with Misa was, whether they were not whether they didn't want to bring too many draft eligible guys. They already have McKenna and Martone in the forward group as draft eligible guys. They wanted to bring some older guys into the mix. I really don't know whether maybe they Misa being a guy who probably only can contribute in a top 6 role, isn't really a guy who would contribute in any real meaningful way as a bottom 6 player. Again, all kinds of things could have played into why Misa didn't make it. Again, I don't profess to know the exact reason, but again, there's a lot of considerations that go into that whole process. Hunter, thank you very much, Hunter. I hope you also had a good Christmas, and I hope you have a happy New Year and all that good stuff. I look forward to seeing you in our shows. You always contribute really well, and I have a good time when you're here. So I hope you had a good holiday, and I hope you have a great year coming up. Entertap, all three goalies can start. Little to pick between them all, but George has the experience. Yeah, I agree. George has the experience from the U17s and the other tournaments. I thought he was spectacular tonight. Again, one of the skills that you have to have if you're going to be a goalie for Team Canada at this tournament and, sort of at any international level is that, you've got to have the ability to sort of sit in your crease and twiddle your thumbs for, a period of time and then be ready for that one shot that might come. And, Carter George showed that tonight, that he has that talent. Based on play, that's it. Yeah, I agree. Based on play, I think he deserved to make the team. Although, there's a pretty good defensive core on Ottawa as well. But I agree. I thought he played quite well in the games I saw. Carter Yakimchuk we're talking about. I thought he played quite well in the preseason. So should be an easy win for Canada. They play Latvia tomorrow. Yes, that's correct, Hunter. I don't know if you want to count your chickens before they hatch. We're always taught not to consider anybody to be an easy win or an easy mark. But who knows? Who knows, right? Who knows what could happen? So, I would expect that they'll not have a ton of trouble with Latvia. But again, you don't want to count your chickens before they hatch. They didn't invite a lot of players to camp. They didn't cut that many. Yeah, I think they've been moving towards doing things that way of late, Jason, the last few years. I think they've sort of moved away from inviting a large group. I mean, they do the summer camp now, so I think they do a lot of their evaluation there. And then, they can, sort of bring a smaller group to the camp in December. That way they're not taking players away from their junior teams unless they have to. We're also, dealing, more and more these days with guys who are already in the NHL who are, may or may not be released by their NHL teams to go and play in the World Juniors. Cheers, guys. It's Christmas. We're drinking Mai Tais. So, yeah, there's all kinds of stuff going on there. But you're right. They, I think the last 2 or 3 years, they've kind of decreased the number. They've sort of changed the way they do their evaluations, and they've started bringing fewer guys to the December camp and having to cut fewer guys. There's 3. Okay, well, again, they've lost to worse teams in the past. Real Deal Prime. Again, I'm not suggesting that it's going to happen, but I've always been somebody who kind of, out of respect for the other team and sort of out of an abundance of caution and not, avoiding being made to look like a fool down the road, I try not to. Count the chickens before they hatch. Right? Did anybody see Canada finishing as low as they did in the standings last year? No, we didn't. So anything can happen. It's all possible. We've seen the Canadiens finish. I think one year they finished 9th at the World Juniors. So again, it's all possible. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But again, I don't think we need to. I don't think we need to be putting down the Latvians, nor do we have to be putting the pressure on the Canadiens of assuming that they're going to win. So, thank you for the thumbs up. I don't know who that was. I cannot tell who is sending the thumbs up. All I can see is I can see it fly through the air when it gets sent to me. I appreciate it. If you are in the live, guys, and you haven't sent a thumbs up yet, I certainly invite you to do so if you enjoy the content, if you're liking what you're seeing, if you're enjoying the show, then certainly send me a thumbs up. And also, if you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button, guys. It's right down below me on the screen here. So hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. If you're over there on TikTok, guys, come on over here. I see Brandon over there. Again, the OG of all Recliner Sports OGs is Brandon. In fact, Brandon kind of was one of the guys who inspired me to get involved in doing the TikTok lives. He did the TikTok lives before I did. and I used to go on his lives all the time before I started doing my own thing. And he does pop over here every once in a while onto the YouTube. But if you're over there on TikTok, guys, we're not doing any TikTok stuff anymore. So I certainly invite you to come on over here and join us here. Get in the conversation. We got about another 15 or 20 minutes left, 15 or so. But yeah, I'd love for you guys to come over. That's why I started the live. I didn't start the live over there on TikTok to chat with you guys because I'm not doing TikTok lives, but I did it to let you guys know that we are live on the air on YouTube and to invite you over to our YouTube channel. So if you are over there, come on over and join us over here. Thoughts on the captain playing on the fourth line? I thought Yager would have played more of a bigger part in the lineup. I've got no problem with it. Those of you who have been watching me on YouTube or on TikTok over the last little while know my philosophy on the lines, especially on a on a national team like this. I don't think that you are a lesser player because you're on the fourth line, especially on a team like this. To me, different lines have different roles. It's not about, you're not good enough to be on the first line, so we're going to put you on the second line. And if you're not good enough to be on the second line, we're going to put you on the third line. And if you're not good enough to be on the third line, we're going to put you on the fourth. I don't think it works that way. It's at least, to me, proper roster building shouldn't work that way. I don't believe in that. I don't believe that just because you're on the fourth line that you're somehow, you contribute differently to the team, but I don't think you contribute less. So Yager being on the fourth line, I don't think, especially like I said, on a what is essentially an all-star team or a national team, I don't think that is an issue for me at all. Berkeley Catton should be on the first line. Okay, how come, Malakas? You didn't think he played well tonight with Gavin McKenna and Luca Pinelli? I thought he did. I thought he looked really good on the second line. Again, to me, being on the second line isn't a punishment. Being on the second line isn't, a statement that you're not good enough to be on the first line. Sometimes you make your lines based on chemistry and guys who work well together. Right. So you said it yourself, right? He plays with McKenna. That's perfect. Yeah. Right. Exactly. So again, in a perfect world, your first and second lines will be interchangeable, right? They're both, typically they're production type lines. And, in a perfect world, you've got two really good lines. You don't stack everybody or everything on the first line. And, it's not an indication that, if you're on the second line that you're not as good as the first line. So I don't agree with you that Berkeley Catton should be on the first line. Unless you have some sort of argument that, he has better chemistry with Easton Cowan, or he has better chemistry with Bradley Nadeau, which I don't think is the case. They don't play together. They're not in the same league. They come from very different, places. So, to me, just because Berkeley Catton is on the second line doesn't mean that that's an indication that the coaching staff thinks he's not as good as Callum Ritchie, or anything like that. I think it's just, you're looking for chemistry and you're looking for guys that work together. Like, it's something they didn't do last year. They struggled to do last year. Haig not being there could be very political, unfortunately. You're talking about Hage, Intertap, on their blacklist since he chose the USHL route over the OHL. Yeah, I think that's always going to go on. I think it goes on with the Americans as well, in reverse, right? The Americans tending to favor NCAA players over CHL players, and certainly they favor players who come from the U.S. National Development Program. The CHL is Hockey Canada is a very territorial organization. We saw the business that went on with the BCHL, and it's political. It's not political in the, Malakas, it's not. Malakas, listen, pal, keep your politics to yourself. Wokeism isn't a real thing, but we're not going to get into politics tonight. I'm not going to put up with it. I came over here onto YouTube to avoid the politics. Again, stop using words that you don't know what they mean and just move on from it, okay? Tage, I don't think, has played for Canada at any level. They tend to take more familiar guys. Yes, I think that's right, Jason. They tend to take more familiar guys. They also tend to rarely take. They rarely take NCAA. I don't say they rarely take. They don't take a ton of NCAA players. And certainly, if they have players who are on an equal level, one's from the NCAA and one's from the CHL, they'll almost certainly take the the CHL guy. Hey, Brandon, what's going on? Solid game by the home country. Love to see Thunder Bay. Oh, he's a Thunder Bay boy. Didn't know that. I think, well, you probably told me that before, but I wasn't aware. And yeah, absolutely. Great to see a nice Thunder Bay boy do well. That's okay, Entertap. It's okay, Michael Hage. Yeah, I would have seen. I think Michael Hage probably would have done fine on this team. But again, the reality is when it comes to selection for Team Canada, especially at the junior level, there's a ton of players that are available. There's a ton of guys you can take. So, you can realistically make those kinds of decisions based on non-hockey factors and not really affect your team negatively, right? You can take, you can avoid the NCAA guys without, hamstringing your options. It's not like you're cutting yourself off to the point where, oh, well, now we're going to have to take a guy who, is significantly, less valuable or less, will contribute less to the team. Like you can still, again, I think we did it last year. We talked about it last year. You could probably make an entire second team or a B team of players that are available to Canada, and you could put the rosters next to each other, and they'd be pretty comparable to one another. Any more thoughts on the roster, guys, or do you want to move on? Let me know what you guys think, guys. Do you have any questions? Feel free to comment and question. We can talk about the World Juniors. We can talk about other NHL issues. We can talk about these guys, right? We can go back to our old Habs After Dark days. Hage would have a good chance to make it next year. Yeah, I agree. Again, if they decided to, I don't know that there are any NCAA players on the team this year, are there? They also favor 19-year-olds. Yeah, that's also true. Hockey Canada typically favors CHL players over Canadian-born players playing in the NCAA or a USHL. Agree with all that stuff, Intertap. That is definitely the case. I know they took Matthew Wood last year, who played for, I think last year he was playing for the Maine Black Bears. I know he's transferred this year, but I believe last year he was. Brandon, speaking of blacklist, did you hear the rumor about Suzuki being blacklisted by Team Canada? Never played for Team Canada, and apparently they were upset when he refused to play for them at the World Championships. Okay. I had not heard that, Brandon. I had not heard that. If that's the case, well, that's their own problem. I mean, you've got a guy who played a ton of hockey last year, and he preferred to have the summer off. I mean, if they're going to get upset at players for not playing in the World Juniors, then they should probably develop some thicker skin because there's all kinds of players that choose not to play at that level. I guess maybe you expect the younger players to jump at the opportunity. And at 25, I guess Suzuki still fits in that category, but. Larry Lavallee. Sorry, no questions from me. I'm just learning from the people in the know, you guys. Okay, Larry, that's all good, man. How is the weather over there in Arizona? I'm jealous. I'm jealous of the Arizona weather tonight. We have snow on the ground here in Halifax. I believe it's going down to -3 tonight. Not a Arizona type weather day here in Nova Scotia. Yes, they cut Wood, who made it last year. Yes. No pun intended, right? No pun intended. Did Suzuki get married last year? I wasn't aware of that. I knew that he had turned down the offer to go to the World Championships. But again, I mean, I don't know. Hockey Canada, I don't know. Nick Suzuki's a great hockey player. I think he's very underrated. I mean, he obviously, I think, would have done really well at the World Championships last year. But, I mean, if they're going to cry over that, then what are you going to do about it, I guess? Because lots of people were confused as to why he wasn't on the Canada roster for the Four Nations. Apparently, that was why. Okay, yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, I think again, it's a situation where, Canada has a lot of players to select from. And, Nick Suzuki not making the team, I think he's very capable of making the team, but I don't think it's an egregious thing to not have him on the team, right? There's nobody on that team that I think they picked for the Four Nations that is like, oh my God, what are they doing? That's ridiculous. That's crazy. Do I think that Nick Suzuki could do as well as just about anybody on that team? Yeah, I do. But again, I don't think it's a situation where they took a guy who is, it's not like they passed over Connor McDavid in favor of, whoever, right? Like it's, I think that the guys that they picked are very capable. Do I think that Nick Suzuki is good enough to be on Team Canada? Absolutely. Do I think Nick Suzuki is better than some of the guys that Team Canada picked? Yeah, I do. But again, I think, you're not always just picking guys based on, offensive production or even, who's the best individual player. Sometimes you're picking guys who you hope will contribute in certain ways and play certain roles. And, maybe you're also, picking guys who you think will have chemistry with other guys on the team. So Jarvis, maybe. Suzuki has way more all-around ability. Swiss Army knife. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that Nick Suzuki's a better player than Seth Jarvis. But again, are they taking Seth Jarvis because they view Jarvis as a future guy who's going to play a role in Team Canada in the future, and they're trying to give him an opportunity to get some experience and to play at the international level? Right? Are they, is that what they're doing? So, for me, I don't have an issue with that. I mean, I'm not the kind of guy who, is going to cry over the fact that my favorite player or my players from my favorite team aren't on an all-star team or on would I like to watch Nick Suzuki? Like, would the, Four Nations Cup or Four Nations Challenge be more exciting to watch for me if Nick Suzuki was on the team? Would I be more tempted to, run to the TV and make sure that I don't miss a minute of the game if Nick Suzuki was on the team? 100%. It's absolutely no doubt. But at the same time, I know that when you make a roster, that sometimes it's not just about picking the best guys or the most productive guys or whatever. Sometimes it's about, picking guys who play certain roles, picking guys who, fill certain they bring a certain skill set. They bring something to the table, right? Like, I mean, those of you who were regulars on my TikTok lives last year around the World Juniors and around, when we were talking about, the Four Nations roster and the Olympic roster and whatever, it was just like it was just a parade of people coming into the lives, bitching and complaining because the guy who, plays on their favorite team wasn't on the roster, right? Or on the roster that I projected or the roster that I thought would be best, right? People would come in and they'd be mad because Mitch Marner wasn't on the team. Or they'd come in and they'd be mad because, I picked, this guy on the team. Or I didn't pick Matthew Barzal. Or I picked, Rob Thomas and I didn't pick this guy. And I get that. I get that you want to have your favorite player on the team, but sometimes your favorite player doesn't fit into the equation, so it happens. Yeah, I mean, again, there's different considerations, right, Brandon? I probably have him over Jarvis or Bennett, but I agree it's not egregious. Yeah, I agree. It's not egregious, but it's also like, building a roster is a complicated thing, and it's like I said earlier, it's not about you get your best guys on line 1, and then you get your next best guys on line 2, and then you get your next best guys on line 3. It's it's not the way it works. You need guys who, you need, to me, a perfect roster is, you've got your first two lines are production lines. Your third line is, guys who can put the puck in the net, but also have really strong defensive side of their game. Really good two-way players. Guys who you can put on the ice in a defensive situation, but can also put up points for you. And then your fourth line is going to be your defensive line. It's the guys you want to put out against the other team's best players. It's the guys that you're going to put out against your Austin Matthews, your Connor McDavids, your Nathan McKinnons, those kind of guys. And hopefully they have a little bit of offensive upside as well. But if you can build a roster that way, if you can build a forward group that way, and you can fit guys into specific roles, and maintain your salary cap. And this discussion we're having about, Canadiens fans are having about Jake Evans right now, right? Jake Evans to me is the perfect fourth line center, right? And it's not because everyone's talking about, well, he's playing really well, we should move him up to the, we should put him back, we should put him up on the second line because the guys on the second line are struggling. Well, no, he's a fourth line player. He's perfect in that role, right? He's perfect in a fourth line role. That's what he was made for. So let's keep him there. Right? Some selections are made to have players who fulfill a particular role. It's a short tournament and more than likely was constructed with chances of playing U.S. in the finals, hence Bennett over Suzuki. Right. Yeah. And I would argue, Entertap, that, that's one of the reasons why Suzuki should probably be on the team, because I think Suzuki's the kind of guy you want to have against, you have against that American team. A young American, high-flying, really offensively oriented team, right? And a guy like Nick Suzuki really excels against that, in that kind of scenario. That's why I'm in Arizona, got tired of the cold and snow. Yeah, I don't blame you, Larry. I don't blame you at all. I think some of the U.S. selections were a little more questionable up front, honestly. Leaving out Keller for Brock Nelson is quite weird. Yeah, there were some weird selections, I think, on both sides. I don't know if weird's the right thing. I think that the Americans probably got a little bit scared at the idea that they were putting all of their eggs into their offensive side of things. Defense and offense. Like that maybe they were just afraid that they were, they were too offensively oriented. Which I don't know. I think that. To me, the Americans, that's their avenue, that's their road to victory is through pure offense, quite frankly. I think that's where their strength lies. And again, it kind of goes against what I just said about building a roster based on, different roles. But for the Americans, offense and goaltending, right? Production, all of their young offensive players plus their goaltending is their major strength. So, the Americans, choosing to, bring in some more defensively oriented forwards is kind of, I get what they're trying to do, but it's also kind of, you have to look at what your strengths are as well. Like you got to look at what your strengths are. And for me, the Americans, the best chance the Americans have of winning right now, whether it's at the Four Nations or the Olympics or anywhere else, is just by overwhelming their opponents offensively. Canada can't do that. Canada doesn't have the lineup, Canada does not have the group of players, doesn't have the people to overwhelm certainly the Americans just, by purely, going out and, seeing who can score the most goals. U.S. wanted a lot of size. Okay. I don't know if I agree with that. Did you read that somewhere, or are you just basing that based on what you're seeing in the lineup? I don't know if I think for the most part, like let's look at the U.S. lineup. USA Four Nations. Ba, 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 da, ba, bow, bow. I thought you said the roster. I love it when they do it this way. Yeah, I mean, the Americans are big, but I don't think that they've brought, like, who have they brought in who's big, that they've brought in just for the sake of being big? I mean, Kreider maybe. But I mean, they're big anyway. Like, Gensel's not big. Fox isn't big. Nelson, I guess you could argue, is a guy that they brought in maybe specifically to be big, but I don't think they're a particular big team. They've got Trocheck, who's under 6 foot as a forward. They've got Quinn Hughes, undersized. They've got 2 undersized defensemen. They've got Hughes and Fox. Jack Hughes is an undersized forward. Jake Gensel, undersized forward, under 6 foot. So I mean, they've got three forwards under 6 foot and 2 defensemen. I don't know. Well, they've got 3 forwards under 6 foot. Obviously, they've got some big guys. I mean, they've got Brock Nelson. We talked about. Boldy's a big boy. Hannafin's big on defense. Kreider, a big boy. Austin Matthews is big. Doesn't really use it, but he's big. Jacob Slavin. Brady Tkachuk. Yeah, they're not. I don't think they're especially big. I don't see them being especially big. So, Brandon says, but they left off possibly the biggest forward in Tage Thompson. Yeah, but again, like size is I'm just looking at the lineup here, and I'm seeing that Matthew Tkachuk is 6'2", right? Do I consider like does Matthew Tkachuk play a bigger game than Vincent Trocheck does? Like Vinny Trocheck, so you look, Vinny Trocheck's 5'11", 188, and Matthew Tkachuk is 6'2", 206. Like, who plays a heavier game? Like, I get that Tkachuk, is a pest and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, to me, Vinny Trocheck plays a heavier game. So I don't know. And I guess the reason I bring that up is that to me, Tage Thompson's a big 6'7" guy, but he doesn't play, or certainly hasn't of late played, a physically intimidating kind of game, right? I don't know that anybody's intimidated by Tage Thompson on the ice. I mean, obviously his size is a factor, and he uses it to his advantage as far as his reach goes and things like that. But he's not a Zdeno Chara out there. He's not a Patrick Maroon out there. He's not a 6'7" behemoth that's out there crushing guys. I don't see that. But all right, guys, we're starting to sort of run out of gas here a little bit, are we? If you are watching, guys, if you're watching the live, then please subscribe. If you're not subscribed yet, please do so. If you enjoy the content, give us a thumbs up. We've got 6 thumbs up there now. We can always use more. We always want more subscribers. We're at about 175 subscribers. We've been on for almost 2 months now. We would like to try and get to 500 subscribers. YouTube lets me do a lot more stuff with the channel once we get to 500 subscribers. So please, if you're not subscribed, please do so. If you're over there on TikTok, come on over here. Join the conversation. You can come on and be a part of the show. And you can also subscribe. That would be awesome. If you're watching in a replay, if you're watching this later, tomorrow or the day after or whenever, and you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe. It does help us out. It does, show the love, help us grow our channel, help us get bigger. We're pretty new at this, but we're doing big things. Like I said, we just set up a new studio all over here. We got a studio on the go. We're going to start doing some daytime shows. We have to decide what we're going to call it and what kind of format it's going to take, but we're looking at doing something in the new year around that. So if you are interested, what is going on here? Oh, that's from last year. I was like, they're showing Caitlin Clark play college basketball. I'm like, that's not happening anymore. So if you are interested, if you enjoy the content, like I said, do hit the subscribe button. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. Tell your friends if you know anybody that you think would be interested in this kind of stuff. Certainly let them know. We do Habs After Dark, which is our normal show. We do that after every Montreal Canadiens game. We get on live and we talk about the game. We answer your questions. We have a conversation. I don't like to answer your questions. I'd like to have a chat with you guys is what I like to do. Unfortunately, I end up doing most of the talking. But that's just the way things work. But if you have anything you want to say in the comments, it's always welcome. So the player needs to fit the role you're looking for. Yes, absolutely. But you also have to look for, what is the strength of your group? Like what does you like? So for the Americans right now, the strength of the American hockey pool is, highly offensive, highly productive forwards and defensemen, right? Like their strength is scoring goals. Like their best players right now, the Americans have a really good, strong group of offensive producers. So, it's great that you want to go and find guys who fit certain roles for your team, but you also have to understand that, for example, like, Canada, I don't think can, just go out and put their 12 best forwards out on the ice and hope to compete with the Americans. I think they need to focus a little bit more on other aspects of the game, and they need to bring guys who can slow down the Americans' offense. So, it's all a game of chess, and it's all whatever. Canada has the 3 best players skill wise: McDavid, McKinnon, and Makar. Yeah, skill wise, okay. Production wise, I think certainly I would probably use the word production wise as opposed to skill wise. Quinn Hughes is pretty skilled. Austin Matthews is pretty skilled. Jack Hughes is pretty skilled. I think and again, I agree, top heavy or at the very very top. I think the Canadiens have just as much offensive firepower as the Americans do, but when you start getting into like the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th players, as far as production goes, I think the Americans are better. I think they're just better. Like just as an all around group, right? Like you're talking about like Hughes, you're talking about Eichel, you're talking about Matthews, you're talking about both Kachucks. You're talking about who else? Brock Faber. Well, maybe not quite there yet. Kyle Connor. You're talking. They've got. Okay, but again, Jason, you don't play hockey with 3 players, right? Like 3 players aren't going to win you a championship. I'd take them too. I think the Americans would take them. But the reality is you need to put a 20-man roster on the ice, for every game. And so, having 1 line or 3 forwards is great, but, it's not about how great you are at the very top of your lineup. It's about how great your lineup is from top to bottom. I don't know whether he'll play or not, Jason. I think that'll probably be up to him and the coaching staff, whether he wants to play or not. I don't know the details of his injury. I don't think I don't think what the details of his injury is. If he feels it in his best interest not to play, then I don't think he should play. But again, the point of it is that as far as offensive firepower goes, from top to bottom on a roster, the Americans are far deeper and far better from that aspect. Point is underrated. Yep. Sam Reinhart has been amazing as well. I agree with you. I'm not arguing that Canada stinks. I'm just telling you that if Canada wants to try and just go toe to toe with the Americans and put their 12 best offensive producing forwards and on the ice, they're going to get beat. And certainly defensively, the same as the offensive talent from the American defensemen is significantly better than it is for Canada as well. Yes, we have Cale Makar, but they've got Quinn Hughes, they've got Adam Fox, they've got Brock Faber, they've got Noah Hannafin, Charlie McAvoy, they've got Luke Hughes, who they don't even have on the team, Zach Werenski, Canadiens fans had a nice close-up view of Zach Werenski on Monday, to see just how good he is. So, again, as far as international play goes, the Americans right now are at the top of their game, and I think that they, it would be a mistake for Canada to just try and, match offense with the Americans. I don't think that's the avenue to victory for Montreal for Team Canada. So I think that's going to be just about it, guys. We've been on the air for about an hour and 20 minutes now. It is almost 1 o'clock in the morning here in Nova Scotia. We're going to end things on that note. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Like I said, if you are watching the show live or on a replay, we do really appreciate you guys for coming, and we do wish that you would subscribe if you're not already, if you haven't already done so. The subscribe button is on the right below here. All you have to do is just hit that button, subscribe, join the Recliner Sports family. We're trying to grow our channel. We're trying to get bigger here. We're trying to do more with the channel, and the more people we have, the better it is for us. We're hoping to do bigger and better things, and with your help, we can do that. But we do need you guys to subscribe, and we do need the channel to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So if you're watching live, if you're watching in a replay, if you're watching over there on TikTok, you can come on over. The instructions are on the screen behind me on the TikTok live. The channel is called Recliner Sports 4. And you can come on over here and you can join up on our channel. We do Habs After Dark. After every Montreal Canadiens game, we go live on the air about 15 minutes after the game. And I'm going to do my best to go live after all of the Team Canada World Junior games. I'm not going to make a promise to do that after every single game, but I will do my best to do that. There's obviously a lot of stuff going on over the holidays, and it's hard to always get on the air for that. We are going to be looking to do some daytime shows as well. I don't know exactly what kind of format that's going to be, but we will be looking at doing that in the next little while, probably in the new year, and we'll be starting that like a weekly show that we do sort of in the late afternoon, early evening kind of thing for those of you who want to do that. And it'll be less of a individual game review as much as it will be, dealing with, specific topics that are in the news at the particular time. Brandon, thoughts on the weird Laine and Werenski back and forth? Okay, I will talk about that before we go, and then I'll end the show. Jason says, whether you put stock into it or not sure Canada has a lot of winning pedigree. Okay, well, that only gets you so far, Jason. Here are my thoughts on the Laine, Werenski, Columbus, the whole deal. Laine is a guy who typically doesn't hold his tongue. I think he's getting better at it. I think that he realizes that, you can't just always say what's on your mind. However, he was pressured and he was kind of, asked a number of questions about, his time in Columbus by Montreal Canadiens media members as well as Columbus media members. They repeatedly asked him questions about, what happened when he was in Columbus. And he told them what he thought. He told them that he was tired of losing. He was tired of, being in a losing culture, and that he no longer wanted to be there anymore. And obviously, his mental health issues and things were played a part in all of that. And I think he probably would be the first one to tell you that, he certainly played a role in the losing that happened in Columbus at that time. However, as is often the case, the truth hurts. And, the fans, the players, and the management of Columbus were really bothered by, the fact that Patrick Laine expressed the truth, right? They know, the management knows that that's what he told them. The management knows that that's why he asked to leave. So they're upset about the truth. They are a losing organization. They do have a losing culture. They have for a number of years, right? And, there's no debating that, right? They're a team that hasn't succeeded on the ice. They're a team that hasn't succeeded off the ice. They're a team that loses repeatedly. They don't do well. A number of their better players have chosen to leave there. They don't want to stay there, and that's just a fact. That's not Patrick Laine's opinion. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. And the fact that bothered Zach Werenski, okay, I would upset me too if somebody said it, but it doesn't change the fact that it's true, right? The fact that they used that to go out and target Patrick Laine physically, and apparently to try and go after an injury that they knew he had, like to go specifically for an injury. I mean, frankly, it's pathetic. It's garbage. It's trash. I mean, grow a pair of balls. Like that's just like, it's, again, you're perpetuating the view or the reality that your organization has a loser mentality. Right? You're perpetuating that view. Like you're crying about somebody saying that you're a loser. Well, prove them wrong. Go out and prove them wrong. Like prove that that you don't have a loser mentality. Go and you went out and hired Mike Babcock. You went out like you just haven't shown that anything that Patrick Laine said wasn't true. I get that it would upset you, but I mean, you're going to cancel a tribute video that you had for a guy. Why? Because your media pressured him into telling. I agree. Patrick Laine probably shouldn't have said those things. He probably should have just bit his tongue and said, "Well, whatever," and just given the cliche answers. But again, the media can't complain. You can't complain about NHL players being boring and bland, and then sort of use Patrick Laine's words to screw him over, or to like, it's just you can't have it both ways, right? You can't pull it both ways. It's like it doesn't work that way. Like you can't be a media member asking him questions like that, and then when he gives you a real answer, then you're going to sort of use that to go all over social media and perpetuate this and try and get your fans all worked up because Patrick Laine had the nerve to tell the truth about your organization being a bunch of losers. So I mean, those are my thoughts on it. I mean, yeah, I think Patrick Laine probably, it was unnecessary for him to get into all of that. It probably would have been better if he had just bit his tongue and not answered those questions, or answered those questions with a typical bland response. But that's not what he did, and that's perhaps not what he's into. So then for Werenski to come out after the game and be all butthurt about it, and for the players to go out there and take runs at Laine and to go after his shoulder when they know that that's his that he has a previous injury there, that's pathetic. It's gross. It's garbage. It's just like you're proving how much of a loser you are when you do that, right? So it's just and then then you get the fans on social media that are now talking negatively about his mental health issues, and they're now, oh well, we were there for him when he had mental health issues, as if as if it's some great accomplishment that you helped a guy who had mental health. Like that's what you're supposed to do. You're a human being. Like, do you want a pat on the back because you didn't stop Patrick Laine from being able to deal with his mental health? Like, I don't what are you looking for credit for? Like, what credit are you looking for there? So again, the response that I've seen from Columbus Blue Jackets fans online, who are basically now saying, oh, I hope, or he's going to do the same thing in Montreal. His mental health is going to kick back up and blah, blah. Like, it's just like be a human, right? Be a human about it. Be a human about it. Whoa, Larry, that's a little bit of a Freudian slip there, I think, Larry. It's not that kind of show. I'm just kidding, bud. So those are my thoughts. Like I've been thinking about it quite a bit over the week, actually. So when you asked the question, Brandon, it was kind of, I know I kind of sort of jumped all over it, but I've been talking about it or thinking about it for quite some time, and that's what I think. I mean, it's to me, it's the media, it's the fans, and it's it's a loser organization that does that. Like, do you think that the Montreal Canadiens would cancel a tribute video to a former player that was coming back to town because he said some negative things to some reporters in the pregame, the pregame press conference or the pregame, media scrum? Like, do you think the Toronto Maple Leafs would cancel a tribute to a former player because they said something negative? Like that's not, like, winning teams don't do that. Like, winning teams don't get butthurt like that. So it's just I don't know. It's just so bush league, right? Like like in baseball, bush league is something that how they always tell you, like, pretend like you've been there before. Like, don't act like you've not. It's like, it's just bush league. It's just like, I don't know. It's like you're just proving that you're a second-rate organization when you act that way. I feel like Columbus definitely has loser mentality and probably has one of the worst locker room personality. Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because you can go back and you can watch. So this was I think this was Montreal's second trip to Columbus. And on the previous trip to Columbus, Laine didn't play. But there's a video on the Canadiens website where they show him going into the rink and talking to the staff and talking to the people, and they all like him and they all get along with him. But again, like, I don't know. Again, it gets back to this like sensitivity that hockey players seem to have, right? Like, we talk about how tough hockey players are, and they are physically, right? A guy will go back on the ice with a broken jaw, or a guy will, his eyeball will be half hanging out of his face, and he'll go back on, he'll go in the dressing room and put a visor on or a full mask on or a full cage on, and he'll, go back on the ice. They're tough. But they get so upset about such minor and minute things. Like, this code that we talk about is I mean, it's a complete joke to begin with, but like Ridley Gregg's taking a slap shot into an empty net and the Toronto Maple Leafs lose their mind. Like, an otherwise calm individual, like, drawing a blank. Riley. What's his first name? I'm drawing a complete blank. Anyways, you know who I'm talking about. Loses his mind. Like, a guy who's otherwise, Morgan Riley, a guy who's, otherwise pretty calm and relaxed and whatever, a guy takes a slap shot into an empty goal, and you are so upset and so distraught and bothered by that you have to go and cross-check him in the face? Like, how mentally soft are you? Like, you're going to get so upset that Patrick Laine says that he left Columbus in part because he was tired of losing and whatever, and that that's going to upset you so much that you're going to go out there and you're going to take runs at him, and you're going to spend your time after a win, right? After a win, that's what you're going to talk about after the game, right? You just beat a team that you're in a battle for the bottom part of the NHL standings. And, instead of talking about the win and how well you guys played or how nice it was to have a win and blah, 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 instead you're talking about Patrick Laine and comments that he made before. It's just, you're proving that you have a loser mentality, right? You're just proving the loser mentality, and you're proving how mentally, unstable and soft you are. Like, you're bothered by a guy taking a slap shot into an empty net. you're bothered because a guy hit your guy, with a clean hit. You're bothered by like this oversensitivity that hockey players seem to have when it comes to the mental side of the game. Is just it's kind of weird to me. It's kind of weird to me. So, all right, I went longer than I thought I would. That's it. That's all. We're ending the show. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Entertap, Larry, Brandon, Real Deal Prime, Jason Teal. Who else we got here? Larry again. Jason Teal. Malachus Pot. Ryan Hoagie. Thank you. Who else? Hunter was here. Zach Candido, Craig, Mr. McPhilly was here. Yeah, so the whole crew, you guys here. Claude Richard, merci. So thank you guys all for coming. I appreciate Day was here very briefly at the beginning of the show as well. Thank you for coming. Like I said, if you enjoyed the show, make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you hit the like button, the thumbs up, right? That thumbs up, when you hit it, it goes flying in the air. We love those. We love the subscribe. We have more subscribers, the better. If you're watching this in a replay, unfortunately, I'm not able to answer your questions as we speak, but if you can certainly post in the comments, and I will certainly address your comments, in the next show, or next time we're live, or directly back to you in the comments. Happy to hear from everybody. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I appreciate it. I am hopefully going to be on the air tomorrow night after the Latvia game. The Canadiens play on Saturday. That's, tomorrow now, I guess, because it's 1 o'clock here in Nova Scotia. But yeah, we will see you in the next one. Thank you, Entertap. Same to you. Always a pleasure. You too, Larry. Don't worry about the slip of the tongue there. I just thought it was kind of funny. It's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. So, Brandon, of course, love having you here, Brandon. Hopefully you're able to come over a little bit more. We are staying away from TikTok, unfortunately, or fortunately, I guess, depending on your perspective. So that's it. That's all. Like, share, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. We will see you in the next one. 4-0 Canada over Finland, game 1 of the World Junior Championships. Canada will play Latvia tomorrow. Good game by the Canadiens. A little bit slow in the third period. Carter George kept them in the game. Certainly earned his shutout in the third period. And it was a great performance by Canada, and we will watch for them to continue to improve and progress as the tournament moves on. Enjoy the rest of your night. If it is still night, for me it's morning now, and I am going to bed. But if you've got anything left to do tonight, I hope you have a good time. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope you have a happy Christmas and you have a happy holiday, whether it's Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or whatever you celebrate. I hope you enjoy it with family and friends, and I hope that you are safe and happy, and that you will have a happy new year as well. So that's it for tonight. I appreciate everybody for coming. Thanks so much. We will see you hopefully tomorrow after the Latvia game. And that's it for tonight. Peace out.
To Hoffman, Monahan parked in front, docks to Caulfield, fires, scores!
You are about to enter Habs After Dark with Recliner Sports.